Have you ever wondered why that person came into your life? It's not a coincidence, and it's not some romantic destiny like in the movies. Some couples meet and feel an instant, deep connection, as if they've known each other forever. While others, no matter how hard they try, find that marriage becomes a long journey of hurt, misunderstanding, and tears. Why is that? Have you ever considered that marriage might be a mirror reflecting your own karma? It may sound far-fetched, but think about it. Your partner, their personality, their background, the way they love you or hurt you all carries the imprint of seeds you've planted. Maybe in this life, maybe in lifetimes past. When you understand this, you stop blaming fate and begin the real journey transforming yourself from within. And do you believe that if you shift your energy, if you cultivate merit and blessings, the kind of partner you attract will also change? Just like a good seed needs fertile soil to grow, a healthy and lasting love can't bloom in a heart still filled with bitterness, suspicion, or self-centeredness. Many people can't find the right one not because the timing is wrong, but because their blessings aren't yet enough to welcome the love they truly seek. Those three questions may seem simple, but if you look at them honestly, they open a whole new doorway to understanding karma, love, and yourself. And this is exactly what Buddhism has been teaching for centuries. Marriage isn't a random event. It's the result of karma and merit. There's no such thing as a lucky match. There's no marriage that's a winning lottery ticket. Every relationship is the fruit of what we've planted, what we are harvesting now, and what we can still transform. In this video, we're going to explore Buddhist wisdom and dive deep into the questions. Why do we marry the person we do? Why do some people wait so long and still not meet the right one? And how can we actually transform our karma in love and marriage? Let's begin this journey together with an open heart and a listening mind. 1. Marriage isn't luck. It's the result of karma and blessings. Here's something most people don't like to admit. Love and marriage, even though they feel emotional, are deeply logical. Not logical in the sense of calculating compatibility on paper, but logical in the sense of cause and effect, karma. People call it fate, but under the light of Dharma, we call it karma and merit. No one steps into your life randomly, and you don't find yourself in a particular relationship, family, or marriage by accident. People often ask, why is it that some women marry kind, supportive husbands and loving families, while others keep falling into painful, toxic relationships? From the outside, we may say, "Oh, she's just lucky." But Buddhism reminds us, there's no such thing as pure luck. Every outcome has a cause. It's like farming. If you plant good seeds, you reap good fruit. But if you plant seeds of pain, selfishness, lies, or resentment, you will harvest relationships that reflect exactly that. There's no exception. A person with abundant merit, meaning they've lived with kindness, responsibility, generosity, sincerity, will naturally attract a partner who embodies those same qualities. They don't need to search desperately. They don't need to strive for attention. When your inner world is whole, love finds you like flowers blooming in season, without force. On the other hand, when someone lacks merit, meaning they've lived dishonestly, hurt others, lacked gratitude, or only cared about themselves, they tend to attract relationships that carry similar wounds. And the more they cling to these relationships, the deeper the suffering becomes. A meditation teacher once said, "No one will love you more than your own karma." It sounds blunt, but it's a powerful awakening. Many of us dream of someone who will rescue us from loneliness or heartache. But the truth is, no one can save us until we've planted the seeds to truly deserve the kind of love we're longing for. Marriage isn't winning a prize. It's a mirror showing us the karma and merit we've been carrying across lifetimes. There was a woman in our community who shared her story. For years, she longed for true love, but again and again, she ended up in relationships full of deception. She blamed the universe. She even blamed herself. But when she discovered Buddhist teachings, something shifted. She realized, I wasn't unlucky. I just never learned how to cultivate the kind of love I wanted to receive. So she changed, became more sincere, more forgiving, and stopped blaming her past. 1 year later, she met her current husband, a gentle, compassionate man who supports her like a true partner. And she understood this wasn't luck. It was the fruit of new seeds she had finally learned to plant. Sometimes, we look at couples who live in harmony, respecting and uplifting each other, and we wonder, how did they get so lucky? The answer is, they didn't get lucky. They earned it. They had met before, perhaps as spiritual friends, as people who saved each other from hardship, or as those who gave selflessly to one another in past lives. And now, the merit from those deeds has ripened into a peaceful marriage. But there are also people who marry only to face suffering. They love passionately, but once they live together, it's all arguments, suspicion, pain. Not because they don't love each other, but because their shared karma weighs heavier than their blessings. The love isn't strong enough to untangle the karma that still needs to be resolved. But Buddhism reminds us, everything can be transformed, even karmic patterns in love. The transformation doesn't start by chasing the right one. It starts when you live the right way. Enduring love isn't for dreamers. It's for those humble enough to reflect and brave enough to transform the unwholesome seeds in their own hearts. That's why marriage is not the destination of love. It is the reflection of your consciousness and your merit. When you understand this, you stop blaming others. Stop resenting fate. Instead, you return to yourself, learning to live beautifully each day. So when love arrives, it comes not as a miracle, but as the natural fruit of who you've become. 2. Past negative karma is often the root of a painful marriage. Some marriages begin beautifully. Two people fall in love, full of promises, sacrifices, even willing to fight the world just to be together. But then just a few years later, or sometimes just a few months, something shifts. The love begins to fade. Conversations feel awkward. Gentle words turn sharp. And the person who once said they'd hold your hand for life now makes you feel lonely in your own home. When we find ourselves in these difficult relationships, most people ask, what went wrong? How did things turn out this way? If we weren't meant to be, why did we come together at all? And then, the blame game begins. It's his fault. It's her fault. It's the family. It's the situation. But very few stop and ask the deeper question, is this the karma I'm now harvesting from seeds I planted long ago? In Buddhist teachings, there's a concept called karmic debt relationships. Those who come back into our lives because of unresolved karma, not to punish us, but to give us a chance to resolve it. And in marriage, this happens more often than we realize. Someone who once betrayed, hurt, or abandoned a partner in a past life may now find themselves married to someone who's cold, unfaithful, or emotionally distant. Someone who was selfish, always taking, rarely giving, may now be with someone who seems indifferent, careless, even heartless. It's not payback. It's life giving us the exact experience we once caused so we can feel it, understand it, and wake up to a more compassionate way of loving. There's a story in the Buddhist scriptures about a woman during the Buddhist time. She was in a deeply painful marriage. Her husband was harsh, often violent, and showed little care for the family. People told her, "Leave him." But she stayed not because she was weak, but because deep inside she believed, I'm repaying an old debt. Later, when she met the Buddha, she asked, what did I do in a past life to deserve this? The Buddha explained, in a distant life, she was the one who had betrayed her husband, causing him immense heartbreak, driving him to madness and despair. Now, in this life, she was experiencing the suffering she had once inflicted. But the Buddha didn't stop there. He said, if you live with compassion, without hatred or resentment, you begin to create new karma. And even this husband, no matter how heavy his karma, will eventually be transformed by your loving heart. From that moment, the woman changed her view. She no longer saw herself as a victim. She became a practitioner, someone who was learning the art of patient endurance. Not passive endurance, but awakened compassion. And in time, her husband truly changed. He let go of his aggression. He began learning the Dharma, and slowly became the kind of husband she had long hoped for. This isn't just a fable. It's a powerful reminder. When we're willing to look deeply into our karma and respond with compassion, our entire life begins to change. In everyday life, many people carry deep wounds from past relationships. One partner lied, the next was cold, and eventually, people begin to lose faith in love itself. But then, one day, something shifts. They pause and reflect. What did I do? Did I ever lie to someone? Did I break someone's heart? Or at the very least, was I careless with someone's feelings? And when they answer these questions honestly, something begins to soften inside. The blame fades, and what arises is a sense of spiritual responsibility. A new journey begins not just to find love, but to heal from within. Through mindfulness, through compassion, through a commitment to live differently, starting today. The Buddha said, even if someone has planted bad seeds, if they wake up, feel remorse, and live wisely, the old karma becomes diluted, like a handful of salt in a vast lake. In other words, no karma is unchangeable. What matters most is the courage to stop blaming and the kindness to start transforming. So if you're in a relationship that's causing you pain, maybe it's time to sit down and ask, is this the lesson I need to learn? Am I now harvesting what I once, perhaps unknowingly, sowed? And most importantly, from this day on, how can I live differently so I stop creating more painful karma? That moment when you can look at your suffering with honest awareness, that's the moment you begin to break the cycle. That's how karma dissolves. Not by blaming, not by running away, but by embracing and transforming with compassion in your heart. Just like muddy water can't be cleared by throwing rocks in it, it clears when it's allowed to settle. Love works the same way. 3. Every marriage is a spiritual lesson. Not every stormy marriage is the result of bad karma. And not every heartbreak in love is a punishment from the past. Sometimes, it's simply an invitation to learn how to love again. But this time, with awareness. From the perspective of the Buddha's teachings, every relationship, whether it blossoms or breaks, carries within it a deep spiritual lesson. In life, we're all students. Some learn through books. Some learn by traveling to faraway places. And some learn through the person they share a home with. Marriage people often think of it as the end of a long search. But truth is, it's only the beginning of transformation. Many people have said, I love this person because they made me happy. And yet, years later, the sentence changes. I stayed because I've learned so much from Theme Evan through pain. There was once a woman who came to a wise monk living deep in the forest. She said, Master, why do I keep repeating painful marriages? I've tried so hard. I've been kind, patient, giving, but I still can't find peace. Am I paying for some karma I don't know about? The monk looked at her gently and replied, "Not all karma is punishment. Sometimes it's a test to see if your heart has grown more patient, more forgiving, more compassionate with yourself." That response brought her to tears, not because it was something new, but because for the first time, she stopped seeing the relationship as a burden and started seeing it as a mirror that reflects every fragile part of ourselves, our fears, our control, our expectations, our wounds. And if we're brave enough to look deeply, we begin to realize your partner didn't come to make you happy. They came to help you grow. Many people only begin their spiritual journey after a painful marriage. They learn to breathe through anger. They learn not to react when hurt. They learn to take a step back when their ego flares up like fire. One Buddhist woman once said, "Before I got married, I thought I was kind and understanding. But after just a few years of marriage, I realized kindness wasn't enough. I had to learn how to let go, how to stay silent, how to forgive. Not for him, but for my own peace." To her, marriage became a kind of spiritual dojo, a tough but powerful training ground. And through it, she became a calmer mother, a more grounded friend, a more stable practitioner of the Dharma. Not because her husband changed, but because she chose to transform suffering into wisdom. The Buddha taught, every encounter is a chance for awakening. The question I saw, are we quiet enough to notice it? The one who hurts us may be teaching us about boundaries and self-respect. The one who ignores us may be showing us how to shine our own inner light. The one who's careless may be reminding us to care for our own wounds. And even the one who leaves us may be offering a lesson in impermanence, letting go, and inner freedom. No lesson arrives without a reason. Your marriage may not look like what you dreamed of, but it might be exactly what your soul needs to grow. So many people only begin meditating after their marriage begins to crack. They only pick up a sutra after their heart has been broken. They only learn to love themselves after loving the wrong person. And that's okay, because in Buddhism, suffering is the gateway to wisdom. When the pain gets deep enough, people start looking inward. And when they truly look, they stop blaming and start being grateful, even to the ones who made them cry. So, when a relationship becomes difficult, don't be quick to call it bad karma. Sometimes, it's just the universe asking, are you ready to grow now? And if you can walk through it with mindfulness, you won't be the same person on the other side. You'll be softer, quieter, more understanding. The Buddha once said, in countless lifetimes, we've been each other's parents, lovers, enemies, siblings. No one comes into our life by accident. So the person you live with every single day isn't just a partner. They're your spiritual training. They don't hurt you for fun. Somewhere in the endless journey of rebirths, you made a vow to learn something important together. And once the lesson is learned, the karma dissolves. There's no need to fight it. No need to blame. Just understand, accept, and let go. 4. Marriage is a continuation of a past life connection. Have you ever met a stranger and yet felt like you've known them forever? Maybe it was a glance, a voice, or just a smile. But something about them pulled at your heart, as if a memory long forgotten suddenly returned. You can't explain it with logic, but the feeling is real. And in love, that feeling can be even stronger. There are people we meet, and instantly feel close to. No need for years of getting to know each other. There's trust, connection, even sacrifice. Right from the start. People call it destiny, but in Buddhism, we call it karmath, continuation of a bond from past lives. The Buddha taught that no one walks into our lives by accident, especially those who leave deep marks. Our lovers, our partners, even those who hurt us. Somewhere in past lives, we've already shared a story with them. Maybe we once helped each other through hardship. Maybe we were husband and wife, best friends, spiritual companions, or even enemies. And when the right causes and conditions ripen, those connections return, sometimes to continue what was left unfinished, sometimes to resolve old karma. One Buddhist woman shared a powerful story. She married young, deeply in love, but after marriage, she discovered that her husband carried many shadows. He was hot-tempered, controlling, and carried wounds from his past. She thought of leaving many times, but each time she was ready to walk away, a strange feeling of compassion would arise, not out of dependence, but something deeper, almost like an invisible responsibility. Later, after studying the teachings on karmic bonds, she said, "Maybe in some previous life I owed this man something. And now we've met again, not to suffer together, but to settle that debt, to learn and grow together." When her view changed, when she stopped blaming and began practicing quietly, her husband began to transform too. He wasn't the same man who once caused pain. He became someone learning to love again. Not an adversary, but a companion in healing old karma. When we look deeply, marriage is not just two people falling in love. It's the reunion of two streams of karma. If we once loved and supported each other, this life's reunion will feel warm, deep, and trusting. No need for big words, just presence. No need for proof, just faith. But if there were past wounds or debts, then the reunion may come with tests and pain, not to punish, but to heal. In the middle-length discourses, the Buddha once said, "There are beings who, upon meeting, feel joy like seeing an old friend. Others feel anger without reason. These feelings arise from unresolved ties in the past." Bring that truth into marriage, and you'll see clearly. There are couples who love deeply, but still argue, hurt, and misunderstand each other. The heart wants to love, but the actions betray pain. Why? Because there may still be an old debt, a scar not yet healed. Until it's resolved, the relationship stays heavy. Marriage becomes less about enjoyment and more about learning. But here's the good news. Every lesson can be passed if we're awake. It only takes one person to look deeply, one person to be kind, one person to stop reacting and start practicing. Marriage, when seen through the eyes of wisdom, can become the most sacred place of transformation. You don't need to leave the world. Just stay with that person, with understanding, with love, with patience. And slowly, layer by layer, the old karma dissolves. People often ask, if this person hurt me in a past life, why do I love them so deeply now? The answer is, karma doesn't just carry pain. It carries attraction. Not attraction from impulse, but from old familiarity. Maybe you once held their hand, once made a vow, and now meeting again. Your heart recognizes them before your mind can even catch up. It's the call of an old journey returning to be completed. So, if a relationship confuses you, don't rush to label it as a mistake or call the other person toxic. Ask yourself, Is there an unresolved thread between us? Is there something I'm meant to learn? Is there an apology that was never spoken? A gratitude that was never expressed? Sometimes, just recognizing that is enough to untie the knot halfway. Some loves come to continue, some come to end, and some arrive, not to last a lifetime, but to teach us a deep lesson and then move on. But whether they stay or go, they are all part of your journey toward awakening. And once you see that clearly, the blame fades away. And in its place comes gratitude, even for the ones who caused you pain. Because without them, you might never have learned how to truly love yourself. 5. Merit is the foundation of a happy marriage. There's something quite mysterious that many married people come to understand over time. Some couples live peacefully together for decades without needing to try too hard. They respect each other, support one another, and grow in the same direction. While others, despite being madly in love and stepping into marriage with big dreams, end up hurting, arguing, and exhausting each other emotionally. Why the difference? Is it just incompatibility or a lack of understanding? Buddhism points to something deeper, something rarely discussed: merit. A happy marriage doesn't rely solely on love or shared ideals. It's often the fruit of merit, the spiritual goodness both partners have cultivated over time. In the modern world, people often think of merit as wealth, luck, or good health. But according to the Buddha, true merit comes not just from material blessings, but from inner qualities that seem invisible: honesty, loyalty, gratitude, patience, silent kindness. It comes from a person who keeps their word, who lives sincerely not because they're perfect, but because they live with integrity. From someone who appreciates even the small things and doesn't take people for granted. From someone who apologizes when wrong and puts others' well-being above their ego. These traits, though simpler, what build merit. And when two such people meet, they don't just share chemistry. They have the foundation of merit that sustains love. A wise Zen master once said, "Marriage is not just the union of two people. It's the convergence of two streams of merit. If one partner has deep merit, but the other doesn't, the love will struggle, because one gives while the other only takes. And a river that flows one way too long will eventually dry out." Some people, after multiple heartbreaks, believe they're unlucky in love. But if we stop and reflect honestly, we'll see. Merit isn't fixed. It's something we build every day. Someone who's always suspicious, jealous, or takes their partner for granted, no matter how deeply they love, will have a hard time keeping the relationship whole. On the other hand, someone who nurtures kindness, who doesn't speak ill of their ex, who avoids planting seeds of resentment, will eventually meet someone on that same frequency. Happiness isn't handed to us. It's the outcome of how we live, how we love, and how we protect our heart through life's storms. There's a small story in the Buddhist tradition. A poor couple lived in deep harmony. They owned nothing valuable, but treated each other with patience and gratitude, even for a simple bowl of rice. The husband fetched water, the wife wove cloth. They returned home tired, yet always greeted each other with a smile. Someone once asked them, "What's your secret to staying happy together?" The husband replied, "We don't have much, but we both treasure this relationship as a blessing we honor every single day." The truth is, merit in marriage isn't something mystical. It lives in the small things. A partner washing the dishes when the other is tired, not raising their voice just because the ego feels bruised, choosing to forgive instead of holding a grudge, choosing a hug instead of walking away. When done with sincerity, those little acts create a strong and lasting foundation. Of course, marriage is never a one-person effort. Even a person with deep merit will grow weary if their partner only takes. That's why a happy marriage requires both to plant seeds. No one is perfect. But if both people are committed to growing, to being kind, to appreciating life's simple blessings, love becomes a tree with deep, steady roots. And here's something to remember. Merit isn't just for couples. Even those who are single can start building it today, through how they live, think, and treat others in everyday life. The Buddha once said, "If you want to meet someone kind, first become someone kind. If you want to be loved sincerely, live sincerely from within." Merit doesn't come from wishing. It comes from how you show up in the world, every day. So don't wait for the right person to appear before you start changing. Instead, become the right person so the one who truly matches you can find you. 6. Delayed love isn't bad luck. It's that destiny isn't ready yet. There are people who cross into their 30s, 40s, even 50s, and still haven't found the life partner they've been hoping for. All around them, friends are settling down, raising children, building homes, living what seems like a stable life. And yet, here they are, still alone. Not because their heart is closed, not because they haven't tried. They've opened their heart, loved, searched, waited, and still, no one. That's when the quiet questions begin to echo in the mind. Is there something wrong with me? Am I not good enough to be loved? Maybe I just wasn't meant to be married? But under the light of Buddhist wisdom, maybe those aren't the right questions. Maybe the questions should be, have I cultivated enough merit yet? Is the one meant for me ready yet? Have I truly matured spiritually and emotionally to enter a deep relationship? In Buddhist teachings, there's a beautiful concept called ripened conditions. Just like a fruit that ripens in its own season, love, too, cannot be forced. It cannot be rushed. It cannot be picked when it's still green. A delayed relationship doesn't mean you're unlovable. It simply means some things still need to unfold within you or within the other person. That person, the one truly meant for you, might be somewhere out there, still healing from past pain, still learning, still growing into the version of themselves that's ready for real love. They might also be feeling lost, lonely, craving deep connection, but still not quite prepared to love in a healthy, conscious way. And maybe you're in the same place, still learning how to let go, still learning to love yourself, still learning how to set boundaries, protect your peace, and grow from within. So when you do meet, you're not two broken halves clinging to each other, but two whole beings coming together from a place of fullness. A young Buddhist once shared, "I used to think all it took was sincere love to be happy. But after 3 heartbreaks, I realized when your heart is still full of fear, neediness, and insecurity, love just becomes a way to avoid being alone." So I stopped. I started practicing, taking care of myself, healing in small ways. And strangely, when I no longer rushed or chased, that person showed up at the right time, in the right form, with the right energy. That person wasn't some savior or magical soulmate. They were simply someone who had also walked through their own healing. Someone who didn't love out of lack but out of understanding. Not out of attachment but with companionship. In today's world, there's so much pressure to settle down by a certain age. So if love comes late, many start doubting their worth. But maybe it's time to see it differently. There's no perfect age to find love. There's only a right state of mind to love well. Some fall in love at 20 yet carry pain and chaos. Some don't meet the right partner until 50, and those years are the most meaningful of their entire life. Love doesn't run on a schedule. Each of us has our own season to bloom. The Buddha once said, "When you're ready for something, you don't have to chase it. It will come to you." When merit is sufficient, conditions arise. When the heart is at peace, the right person appears. This is just as true in love as in any other part of life. Not everyone moves through karma at the same pace. The one you're waiting for may be clearing out the residue of past relationships. Or perhaps you need to complete your own inner cycles before you can love from a place of clarity. Honestly, being single is a gift. It's time to go inward, to heal, to grow, to discover who you really are. It's time to build your career, care for your body, tend to your soul, to learn how to love your life without needing anyone to complete it. To understand that you don't need someone to fill your life. You need someone to share the fullness of it. Someone once asked the Thai meditation master, Ajahn Chah, "I want a good partner. What prayer should I say?" Ajahn Chah simply smiled and said, "Live with kindness, integrity, and responsibility, and you will attract someone who lives the same." A simple answer, but so deep. Love doesn't come from prayers. Love comes from how you live. So if love hasn't arrived yet, don't blame fate. Don't panic about running out of time. Instead of looking outward, look inward and ask, have I been living like the kind of person I hope to meet? Am I kind, awake, and generous enough to be a trustworthy partner myself? When you live from that place, the right person will come. Not too early. Not too late, but exactly on time. 7. Marriage reflects who you are. People often ask, how do I know if someone is truly right for me? Others say, I keep attracting the wrong person over and over again. But very few take the time to sit quietly and ask a much deeper question. What does the kind of person I keep attracting say about me? Because from the Buddhist perspective, your life partner doesn't come from somewhere out there. They are a mirror reflecting you, your energy, your way of living, even your karmic patterns. There's a powerful truth that, once understood, shifts everything. Love is not something we find. It's something we attract based on who we are. Think of it like a field. If the soil is healthy, the seeds will grow. If your heart is grounded in kindness, the right person will come. Someone who lives with honesty, respects others, speaks gently, and acts with compassion. Even if they haven't met anyone yet, they're already sending a quiet signal into the universe. That universe, according to Buddhism, is karma. Karma isn't just about punishment or reward. Karma is the energetic field created by your thoughts, words, and actions. The way you live creates your magnetic field, and that field attracts people who vibrate at the same level. That's why it's not random. Some people always attract kind, loving, supportive partners. Others find themselves in toxic, selfish, or manipulative relationships again and again. It's not bad luck. It's karmic reflection. There was a woman in our community. She went through 3 painful relationships. Each one started with hope and ended in heartbreak. She used to think she was unlucky, cursed, or paying off bad karma from a past life. Then one day, during a Dharma talk, she heard this teaching from the Buddha. The people you attract are mirrors of your own mind. And something inside her woke up. She stopped searching, stopped blaming. She turned inward. She began healing her own heart, learning to love herself, learning to live with kindness without needing a return, learning to let go of the part of her that tried to control others. A year later, She met the man who would become her husband. He wasn't flashy, not like in the movies, but he was steady, honest, and deeply present. She said, "He's a mirror of the new version of myself I've been trying to become. This isn't a fairy tale. This is real. And it's something anyone can experience if we have the courage to look within." A life partner doesn't show up to save you. They show up to reflect back who you are. And yes, sometimes that's hard to accept, especially when the people we meet bring pain. But it's also an invitation to ask, what energy am I giving off? How do I treat myself and others? Am I only kind when things go my way? The Buddha taught, if you want to know your past, look at your present. If you want to know your future, look at your present. The love you have or lack is the map of the karma you've planted. And if you don't like the map, don't rip it up. Start drawing a new one by living differently today. Someone once asked Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh, "I want to meet a partner who's mindful, loving, and deep. Where should I look?" He smiled and said, "Live that way yourself, because that person is also searching for someone just like that." In other words, love is not a reward for the lucky. Love is the honest reflection of your karma and consciousness. If you live dishonestly, you'll attract dishonesty. If you live shallowly, you'll attract superficial people. If you live in fear and distrust, you'll meet people who make you feel even more unsafe. But if you live with mindfulness, honesty, gratitude, and compassion, sooner or later, someone will show up who reflects those exact qualities. Some people say, "But I've lived kindly, and I'm still alone." And the answer is, because the one you deserve is also on their own journey. They're still learning, healing, becoming. And when you've both matured, grown strong enough not to love out of need, you'll meet. Not too late, not too soon, but exactly when you're both ready. Marriage is not a place to escape loneliness. Marriage is the meeting of two souls who've both learned how to stand on their own. So if you haven't met someone yet, it's not your fault. It just means the version of you that deserves that high reflection is still becoming. So stop rushing to find the right person. Start becoming the right person. Live like the kind of soul you want to meet. Live in such a way that someone kind can't help but be drawn to you. 8. To welcome the right love, you have to let go of the old baggage. There's something that sounds simple, but is actually one of the biggest reasons people struggle to enter a healthy relationship. It's not because they're unworthy of love. It's not because there's a shortage of kind people in the world. It's because their heart is still full of things they haven't let go of. Someone once said, "I'm not afraid of love. I'm just afraid of loving the wrong person again." So instead of opening their heart, they close it. Instead of forgiving, they hold on. Instead of healing, they learn to just endure. But here's the thing. When you carry old pain, you're not just closing off the past, you're quietly shutting the door to your future. There's a beautiful image in Buddhist teachings. A cup that's already full, no matter how clean the water you pour in, it will just overflow. The heart is the same. If it's already filled with resentment, doubt, and fear, there's simply no room for new love to enter. A woman once came to the temple and said, "I keep meeting the same kind of person. They seem loving at first, but eventually, it always ends in lies or betrayal. Is this my karma, my doomed in love?" After listening quietly, the monk asked her gently, "Have you truly forgiven the last person? Or are you pretending to move on, while still carrying the pain and bitterness inside?" She went silent. And then the tears came. Turns out, she did know how to love. She just hadn't learned how to release the old weight, to walk forward with a lighter heart. There's a powerful teaching from the Buddha. Holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal. You're the one who gets burned. Clinging to the anger of someone who's no longer there. Holding on to suspicion towards someone who already left. It doesn't change the past. It just poisons the present. And then, when a truly kind person comes along, you don't trust them. You push them away, not because they did something wrong, but because you're still seeing through old lenses. There was a middle-aged man who shared this story. I met an amazing woman, but because my ex-wife cheated on me, I was always suspicious. I checked her phone. I questioned everything. Eventually, she left. And that time, I lost someone truly precious. That experience taught him something deep. A good heart isn't enough if it's trapped inside a mind that hasn't healed. Love can't grow in an environment full of resistance and fear. Love needs space. Love needs trust. And more than anything, love needs a clean ground to grow from. Holding on to old bitterness is like keeping trash in your garden and hoping flowers will bloom. No garden can thrive if the roots are tangled in stones and rotting waste. The Buddha said, letting go doesn't mean giving up something good. It means clearing away what no longer serves so something good can finally come. If you want the right love to arrive, you have to make room for it. Forgive not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. And you can start small. Write a letter to someone from your past not to send, just to express what you've held in. Revisit painful memories, but this time with a heart that's ready to understand and release. Practice staying in the present. Don't keep comparing today to yesterday. And most of all, remind yourself every day, you are not who you used to be. You are growing. You are learning to live lighter. You are becoming someone worthy of a deeper kind of love. There's a beautiful example in Buddhist texts. A man was carrying a heavy bag of rice on his back. He struggled every day, complained about the pain. One day, someone asked him, "Why don't you just set it down?" He answered, "I forgot I could." Some of the anger in our hearts is just like that. It's been there so long, we forget we're allowed to put it down. You have the right to live lighter. You have the right to love again without your past locking you in place. So, if you're wondering why love hasn't arrived yet, look inward. Ask yourself, are you welcoming love in? Or are you still guarding your heart out of fear it might break again? The person meant for you may already be near, but they might not be able to step in because your heart hasn't made space yet. 9. Prayer, goodness, and inner work. The path to transforming relationship karma. A question I hear often, especially from those who've been deeply hurt in love, is this: how can I find someone who truly loves me? Is there a Buddhist prayer or chant that can help me attract love? I've suffered so much already. I just want to meet the right one next time. There's so much sincerity in those words. So much quiet hope. But beneath the surface, there's often a deeper truth. Many people are longing to be loved yet haven't learned how to truly live as someone who is lovable. Prayer is beautiful. It centers us. It gathers our scattered energy into a direction of light. But prayer alone is not enough. And it can never replace action, especially the kind of action that transforms the heart. The Buddha never taught us to just sit and wait for good things to happen. He taught, by oneself is evil done. By oneself is one defiled. By oneself is evil left undone. By oneself is one purified. Purity and impurity depend on oneself. No one can purify another. Dhammapada 165. If you want a kind and meaningful love, you must live as someone worthy of that kind of love. That's not a harsh rule. It's the gentle, honest law of karma. Someone who constantly complains about love, badmouths their ex, or stays stuck in blame even if they pray every day will still radiate the energy of pain and mistrust. And as we've explored before, you attract not what you want, but what you are. You can't wish for a kind, patient partner while carrying bitterness and fear in your energy field. It's like expecting flowers to bloom in a garden filled with weeds and trash. I remember a young woman who came to the temple after a devastating breakup. She had nearly lost all faith in love, but instead of turning bitter, she chose silence. She prayed every day. She practiced Metta Bhavanath, meditation of loving kindness. Most importantly, she never spoke ill of her ex. When friends asked about the relationship, she simply said, "I don't want to keep retelling that story from a place of pain. I want my heart to stay light enough to welcome something new and good." Almost a year later, she met the man who is now her husband. He didn't sweep her off her feet with roses or grand gestures. He simply showed up with quiet consistency, patience, and kindness. And she told me, "I don't think I prayed him into my life. I think I lived in a way that attracted someone like him." You see, some of the most powerful prayers aren't spoken. They're expressed through how you live. When you choose to live kindly, that's a prayer. When you speak gently, without judging those from your past, that's healing energy. When you stop telling your story from a victim mindset, that's a sign real healing has begun. Prayer isn't begging for blessings to fall from the sky. It's a commitment to live with beauty from the inside out. And when your heart begins to shine, the universe naturally responds, often by sending someone who carries the same light. The Buddha said, "One who radiates loving kindness will be loved wherever they go." That kind of loving kindness doesn't mean only loving those who are lovable. It means being able to forgive those who once hurt you, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve to be free. Some people ask, "But I didn't do anything wrong. Why am I suffering?" In Buddhist understanding, across countless lifetimes, we've all been the one who hurt and the one who got hurt. Being betrayed today may be the karmic fruit of having once betrayed someone in the past. Being left behind now may mirror a time when we made someone feel unloved. But Buddhism doesn't stop at karma, it invites us to transform it. The Buddha said, "Every moment of awareness is a chance to plant new karma." No one can keep hurting you forever if you choose to do good, heal your heart, and stop walking the same painful path. A loving life doesn't begin the moment someone loves you. It begins the moment you start living with love, even before anyone else arrives. Start small. Send kind thoughts to someone who once made you cry. Resist the urge to speak badly about your ex. It doesn't lighten your heart. Do one act of kindness every day, not to get something back, but to warm your own spirit. And then you'll stop asking, "When will the right person come?" Because you'll realize you've already become the kind of person they've been searching for. True love doesn't start with fireworks. It starts with inner clarity. It doesn't need to arrive with drama, just resonance. And that resonance doesn't come from coincidence. It comes from energy. From the energy of someone who is truly living with a kind and open heart. 10. When wisdom opens your eyes, marriage becomes a path to awakening. Someone once said, half jokingly, half sincerely, marriage is like a cage. Those on the outside want to get in, and those on the inside want to get out. It sounds funny, but let's be honest, there's a lot of truth in that line, especially for many couples today. When we're in love, everything feels like a dream. But once we start living together, reality slowly sets in. Arguments arise, differences become clearer, old wounds are triggered, and daily life isn't always so rosy. Then come the questions. Did I marry the wrong person? Maybe we're just not compatible? Is marriage just a trap, a burden, a long string of compromises? But under the light of Buddhist wisdom, we're invited to see things differently. Not every difficult marriage is a mistake. Sometimes It's the exact path we need for spiritual growth. The Buddha taught, a wise person doesn't only see the suffering in a situation, they also see the opportunity for transformation hidden within it. And when you look at marriage this way, it's no longer a prison. It becomes a practice. It becomes a training ground for mindfulness, a clear mirror for self-reflection, a fire that tests and refines your patience, your compassion, and your insight. At a Dharma talk in Northern California, an older man stood up and asked, "I've been married for nearly 30 years. To be honest, there are times I just want to walk away. The love feels like it's gone, and all that's left is obligation. Does Buddhism allow me to leave in search of happiness?" The teacher paused for a long moment, then gently asked back, 30 years. Is that not long enough to learn something meaningful? What have you discovered about yourself through those conflicts? Have you learned to stay silent instead of yelling back? To keep loving when your partner isn't being very lovable? To let go of expectations, but still live sincerely? The man's eyes welled up, not because he was being judged, but because, maybe for the first time, he was being invited to view his marriage not as a problem, but as a spiritual path. In truth, is there any practice more raw and real than marriage? You can sit in meditation for hours, chant every day, but it's in the heat of an argument with your spouse where your ego really shows up. It's in those moments tired, frustrated, yet still washing dishes for your partner that you see your capacity for unconditional kindness. It's when you feel misunderstood, but choose gentleness over reacting, that your inner wisdom begins to bloom. A challenging marriage can break you, but to the one with insight, it can become the very ground for awakening. An awakening doesn't have to mean something grand. Sometimes it's just this: noticing your anger as it rises, feeling hurt but not blaming, feeling disappointed but holding your tongue. The Buddha once said, "A wise person does not seek happiness in circumstances, but in the clarity of their own mind." Marriage gives us the perfect arena to observe that mind, how it clings, reacts, defends, expects, and it gives us the choice, moment by moment, to release, to soften, to stay present. There's a woman I know who's been in a turbulent marriage for over 40 years. From the outside, people think she's just tolerating it. But when asked, she smiles and says, "I'm not enduring, I'm practicing." She continued, "Every time he yells, I take a deep breath. Every time I feel pain, I sit with it. I see him as my teacher, teaching me patience, compassion, and letting go. That's not weakness. That's a deep strength rooted in understanding." And over time, her husband changed. Not because she pushed, but because her kindness slowly softened him. Not everyone gets to be in a perfect marriage, but anyone can turn their marriage into a path of practice if they have the eyes to see. It only takes the courage to stop running from pain and start walking into it mindfully, not demanding the other to change, but taking the first step yourself. Someone with wisdom doesn't ask, "Why is living with this person so hard?" They ask, "What is this situation teaching me? Is my reaction creating new karma? Can I practice mindfulness right here in this family life?" Because awakening doesn't only happen in meditation halls. It happens at the dinner table, in the way you speak, the way you look at your partner, the energy you bring into your home. So from everything we've explored so far, maybe marriage isn't a life sentence or a gamble after all. Maybe it's a mirror, reflecting your karma, your virtues, and your inner work. Whether you're in love, married, hurting, or walking alone right now, every experience is a chance to grow, to heal, and to plant better seeds for the future. True love doesn't come from the outside. It is the fruit of a life lived with honesty, forgiveness, mindfulness, and presence. And marriage, when seen through the lens of wisdom, is not a chain. It becomes the road back to inner freedom and deep awakening. If something in today's reflection resonated with you, please consider subscribing to Buddhism Seeds to walk this journey of compassion and insight together. Hit like, share this video with someone who may need it, or leave a comment below maybe, just to say hello to others, learning how to love the mindful way. Thank you for listening with a quiet open heart, and I look forward to walking alongside you in the next part of our journey.